So I thought I'd do something a bit different for this video. I'm starting a brand new campaign for my players this month, and thought I'd give some insight into how I set up a new game and how I organize things. This is going to be an Acquisitions Incorporated game, and for those of you who aren't familiar with ACK Inc., it's basically D&D 5e meets The Office. It offers some additional character customizations, some really great role-playing opportunities, and hopefully the potential for some good comedy and a lot of fun. And my group and I have been playing together for over a year, but over the course of our first campaign, there was a lot of me learning things, learning macros, learning scripting, learning Roll20 tips and tricks, and so this time around I want to incorporate some of those things into the game right away. So here we go. Here are the things I'm doing now that I wish I'd known about then. And the first thing I'm going to show you is a link to player resources. So I've created this employee handbook. And inside the employee handbook are hyperlinks to all of the major players that make up the ACK Inc. world, the franchise opportunities that ACK Inc. provides. So basically, you are a franchise of adventurers that are going out to make money for Acquisitions Incorporated, and each member of the party gets an additional role within the franchise. You can be a cartographer who's responsible for mapping things that the party finds. You can be an occultant who's responsible for tracking the party's kills. And each one of these different roles gives the player some additional abilities and in-game perks that are a lot of fun, and I wanted these to be easily accessible, and so I created this employee handbook link. And if you haven't made links like this before, it's really easy. All you need to do is create a new handout. We'll give this handout a descriptive name. We'll call it, Handbook 1A, something like that. And then in the description and notes, all you need to do is put in a link to the item you want to connect to. Now, if you're connecting to another handout, you can just put in brackets the name of the other handout, and that will actually create the link for you. So we click Save Changes. You see, that creates a link right to the employee handbook. If you want to link to other resources, like for example here, this helpful resources handout that I created, this actually has links to the player's handbook, to Xanathar's, to Ravnica, and to Deep Magic, which is a title from Kobold Press that gives you more spells. And if you click on one of these, this takes you straight into the player's handbook. And you can go in and you can search for these things individually in the compendium if you want, but some of my players don't have access to these books in the real world, so they don't know what's actually in Xanathar's, for example, or they don't know what's in Deep Magic. So rather than have them, kind of poke around through the compendium, I wanted to give them an easy way to just access the books themselves. And to access a title like this, what you're going to do is in your compendium, find the miscellaneous category. And in the miscellaneous category, there's this book index. And this actually gives you links to all of the materials that you own, actually all of the ones that are available on the Roll20 marketplace. So I don't own all of these titles. For example, I don't own Mordenkainen's. So if I click on that, it's just going to take me into the Roll20 store. But if I go back, and if I click on the player's handbook link, that takes me into the player's handbook. So what I'm going to do is right-click on the player's handbook link here, and I'm going to copy link address. And then I'll come into my handout. Let's go back to handout 1A. So what you want to do now is you come into your handout, and I'm going to create a link. Just say link right here. And we're going to say text to display. That'll be PHP. And to what URL will it go to? Be this guy right here. We're going to take out the content. We'll say insert link, save the changes, and there we go. Now we've got the link to our handbook. You can do the same thing for Xanathar's. You can do the same thing for any other book that you have access to. If you don't own the player's handbook, or if you don't own these other things and you want to give your players a resource, you can put links to external sites here as well. So you could actually put a link to Wizards of the Coast, to where the SRD can be found. So you can put a link in like that if you wanted to, let your players download the PDF that way, and then they've got something, more physical to scroll through. Okay, so That's the first thing, is some helpful handouts for your players for resources. I also wanted to give them an easy way to track their own experiences, and so I created a handout called a journal for each of them as well. And this is really simple. This is just a plain handout that's in their journal and can be edited by them, and only they can see it. So this is their own like private little diary that they can use and refer to and track adventures that way. So now we don't need to worry about somebody trying to track their progress on a separate document or something like that. You know, I've done that before with other games, and things get lost or misfiled, or you forget to click the save button, and then you lose your progress. You know, you forget what happened last session. So this way you've got everything in one place. I also gave them this party loot handout, and this one's a little bit different. This one can be edited by all players and is in all players' journals. So they can come in here, and as they find treasure or as they find items of note, they can put those in here. Anybody can edit it, anybody can access it, and that way the party always knows what they have. And again, you don't need to worry about, okay, you know, who wrote down what we got for treasure last time around. I can't find that piece of paper. Rats, you know, I guess we don't have the 500 gold or whatever it is. So now all that's tracked right here and easy to get to. All right, third thing that I want to highlight is public macros. I've done several videos on macros and scripts, but I think the two most common questions I was asked during our last campaign were, how many dice do I have to roll for a healing potion? And I can't find my character on the map. So I created some macros, and those macros are down here, right? I created the healing potion macro and the ping me macro, and I've got other videos that cover how those actually got created, so check those out if you're interested. But basically, the healing potion macro just pops up a box saying, hey, what kind of a healing potion are you drinking? And then it rolls the appropriate amount of dice. But the thing that's important to know here is if you scroll down in the macro screen, this visible to players section allows you to give the players permission to use this macro. They can't edit it, they can't see what makes it up, but they can click it. They will actually show up in the collections section for them. And then what I recommended they all do was click the in bar box here, and that way the healing potion macro, for example, shows up down in the bottom toolbar, and then they've just got it handy whenever they need it. Same thing with the ping me. That's what allows them to find themselves on a map if the map refreshes and they're not scrolled to the right part of the screen. This way they can click on the ping me button and they'll be located on the map immediately. And again, I've got videos that show how to create each of those things. If you do want to do the ping me script, you do have to have a pro subscription, as that is writing an API, but the healing potion macro is just using regular Roll20 macro commands. No API required for that one. But making those macros public is really going to help make life easier for them as we're playing. And the smoother you can make that process, the more enjoyable the game is going to be. And the last thing that I wanted to bring up are landing pages. If you go out to Reddit or the Roll20 forums, you'll see posts where people have come up with various landing pages for their campaigns. And these are essentially pages that display information about the campaign so far. Current objectives, friends and foes, bits of lore, stuff like that. And I actually made two for this particular campaign. The first one is this page, this coming soon page. While my players were rolling their characters, they did that over the course of a couple of weeks. They were going to come in here, they were going to set up their characters, they were going to kind of experiment with things. Basically, we didn't have a campaign yet. We just had people who were building characters. So I thought this coming soon page was really a very nice fit for that particular time. And this image just comes right out of the Acquisitions Incorporated book. So, I didn't do anything special for that. But the real landing page is over here. And that's where my players are right now. So this home screen, and I'll zoom out here just so you can see, this gives me a chance to say, okay, who's playing? Here are all their characters. Here's what's going on. These are their current objectives. They're going to write a mission statement. It's not there yet, but that'll be in there soon. We've got a counter for how many days without an incident. I don't envision this ever going higher than 0, honestly. As they progress and move throughout the game, they're going to have the opportunity to create their own products and make alliances with corporations and whatnot. I think we're going to be putting some fantasy fictitious logos up here. And then this customer satisfaction thing allows me to say, okay, who are they friendly with? Who are they not friendly with? And these little gauges and whatnot will move up and down as we go along. So if I zoom in on the map here, I can move the Acquisitions Incorporated token up to the happy face when they achieve a certain level of status within the corporation. The City of Waterdeep, they're neutral right now. If they do the quests and maybe some of the side quests that I've got planned, that will go up as well. And then you can see I've got a marker here for Phandalin on the GM layer because that's one of the places they'll be going next. So I've got those things queued up, and as their standings and statuses within these particular organizations and others go up and down, I can track that, they can track that, and I think that's just going to be a lot of fun. Now, as for the images themselves, some people will probably ask, where'd you get that artwork? Okay, yeah, because I am not a good artist at all. If I'm lucky, I can draw a stick figure, and that's on a really good day. So the artwork for this particular background comes from the Acquisitions Incorporated module itself, and I also have these right here, this Dashing Dashboards pack. This is available on the Roll20 marketplace for about $5, and it gives you all of these like little boxes and whatnot. So like the factions box that I've got right here, the box that the players are currently in, those came out of the Dashing Dashboards pack. But there are a bunch of others. There's these counters. So basically you get this little skull and you can label it. The top part there is what is being counted, and the bottom spot is the number. So like if my party gets an occultant who needs to count the number of kills that they have, I'll put this up on the page, and then we'll track the number of kills that they've got. There are other ones in here. There's a really couple of nice ones for the seasons. It doesn't really fit thematically with what I'm doing, but I like these because it's a nice pictorial of what season you're currently in. And I think if you were playing a game like Dragon Heist, for example, these would be really handy because obviously whatever season you're in dictates what sort of adventure the campaign's going to be. So there you go. I just wanted to give you an insight into kind of how I set things up from the standpoint of my players and trying to make life easy for them this time around. Like I said, I learned a lot over the course of the last campaign, and I wanted to put all that to good use. And so I figured I'd, pass that along because hopefully maybe somebody else sees this and finds it helpful. There you go. Quick video this week. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like and consider subscribing. And until next time, folks, have a great day.